Oh, a little bit too dark. Okay, so now it's better. Or is it too much? No, I think it's better. It's too bright light that I have. I hope the sound is fine. It might be clipping again. It looks like it's going to red. Oh, I think it's better. I hope. I hope it's better. Just please let me know if the sound is okay, because I have had some problems with the sound. And yes, it's time for another live feedback for your images. And this time the theme was black and white. And the assignments were contrast. Then we had light and shadow, high key and low key. And we will get to those in a moment. And let's see where you are from. There's someone from Australia. It's 5 a.m. That's a good sport to be up that early to see this feedback live stream. That's much appreciated that someone is already up at 5 because there's my live stream. I really like that. There's someone from Paris, New York. Is that WA state? Is that Washington state? Is it? Then you got Zurich, Switzerland, James Boyer, Hampshire, UK, Auckland, New Zealand. Then there is this Worcestershire, UK. That's the hardest place to pronounce. And then there is someone Anne from Kuopio, Finland, Espoo, Finland, Denver, Colorado, Spain, Germany. Yeah, all over the world again. I wonder if there's someone from South Africa this time or South America. That's usually the least amount of viewers from those areas. Central New York, yes. Sydney, Australia. There's 1 second echo. Okay, I wonder if there is. That should be delay. Maybe it is. Let me fix that. Is that better now? Then from Alavus, Finland, Woodstock, Georgia, USA. 5 a.m. in California. That is, of course, that's California 5 a.m. Sorry, it's late at night in Australia. Sorry, yes, of course. And, yeah, let's start. But before we get into the images, just a reminder of the April's theme, which is color. Of course, it's opposite to black and white. We're talking about color. And then the assignments are saturation, joy of colors, complementary colors, and color of life. And I posted a video on Friday about these and what is the idea behind. Oops, maybe put that one. Yeah, this is slightly better. Like this, April's theme: color, saturation, joy of colors, complementary colors, and color of life. And like I said, I had a video about this theme on Friday, and all the things that I was thinking about when I was making this April's assignment are in that video. So I'm not going to go that much into that. But of course, color of life is something that someone had, asked me of what it is all about. That's more of a general kind of assignment about a broader assignment that actually you could have a black and white image on that too, if you like, color of life, because it doesn't have to be so literal. There's some more of a metaphor. So that's also the hardest thing. And I really hope that some of you will tackle and grab that one. And then Werner Woska is asking, Peter, where are you? Where am I? I'm in Helsinki, Finland, if that was the question. And Bornholm William, hello there. Have you seen any, what do you call these, Nordic lights lately? Because you had some nice photographs on that. And then, but let's get into the assignment. And what assignment was this photograph for? And this is the amount or different percentages that you were photographing this. Okay. And it was 40% light and shadow, Contrast was 28.6, and then 17 and 14 for high key and low key. And low key was the least amount of photographs. And yes, like low key and high key are not that easy to photograph. It's because it's a certain way of photographing, or it has to have the certain values of the grayscales to be called high key and low key. But there are some good examples of that too. And I think we'll go straight to the first image, and this is Andrei Balashov, and it is Contrast, Foggy Morning in the Forest. And this is a very classical image, and what's really good about this is, of course, the composition where you have the road or the street or the path going towards the light, and it's kind of like a positive image that we're going to better times, I hope. And also the mist and smog smoke that makes the trees a bit uncontrasty, and I like that also quite a bit because it makes our eyes go straight to there. And then of course it's a bit dark, a road to the better times. Maybe there are some bad things happening between that, and I hope everybody reaches the bright area and there is something totally new. And I like the square format on this, and also the compositional way that you have the kind of like a rule of thirds, but then slightly breaking the rules, having the bright part right almost in the middle, not in the middle, but not also in the 1/3 or golden ratio. And I think that's also something that kind of breaks this image. And then the rock, or is that a rock or a tree or something in the front there? I'm not sure what it is, and then I can see the mouse. This one, what I mean is something that also grabs our eye and takes our eye to the next rock, and then to the open bright area. Really well done. And then we have Rich Baudash. This is low key street musicians in Italy, and I think this is, you could argue that is this really low key because you have so much bright areas here. But yes, the middle part definitely is low key, and the street musicians here. And what I liked about this is the different relationship between these groups. There is like these musicians, and there are some audience over there. And then I like about this person here looks like he's talking to this person, saying something, and they are talking, and this one is kind of just there. And I think it's in a way that sense an interesting, because you get into the image with the two musicians, and then you see these others and start thinking about what is going on after they have played, or maybe they're starting to play. I'm not sure. It doesn't say in the explanation, and the image doesn't tell that. And I think that's something that is quite nice on this image. Maybe going a bit closer or cropping. Maybe you can't go any closer. If you go closer, you might break the situation, because now no one is aware that Fritz was taking this image or making this image. Going a bit closer could have ruined that, because in this type of images, I think it's a good thing that they don't really be aware that they've been photographed. But still, it doesn't look like you've been stalking or anything like that, which is something that I don't prefer that much. But yeah, the composition comes from, so that we go into the image to the musicians, and then we go there, and then also the kind of like the path goes this way, so it's not straight. It's a slightly curvy path that our eyes move here. But like I said, maybe cropping slightly from the sides. There's maybe too much sides, but otherwise, really well done image. And then this Terence Jamison's low-key image. I saw a snooker club and thought I would ask if I could take a few images. Several members were happy to help, and this head-on aspect appealed to me. I sent copies of their image to all the members who post for me. Yeah, that's a good way of getting images, and you know, usually if you ask and then you tell that, yeah, I will send you the images, most people really do like that. They will let you do that and will let you make images, and that's a good way. Of course, it's some excuse me, some might find it a bit imitating, but I think it's worth a try and go and do images like this. Because this one is really great, and the only thing that it is slightly odd is the position, because the head looks a lot bigger than it actually is, because you can't see the shoulder at all. But then the eyes are really intense, and which I really like in a photograph where there are people. That usually is because that's what we see, and we kind of also see the concentration that's going on here, and really concentrated, and nothing else is in the world at the moment except that situation. How do I do that so that I can pocket that ball? And maybe I don't know if you've opened up the whites in the eyes there. Maybe it's slightly overdone because it's a bit unnatural, but we don't know that. It might be so bright like they are. And all the hardest part on these is, of course, the background. And if that place could have had some lights, or maybe some unsharp player, like a bar or something. Now the background is it's a bit boring, but then of course it's a tight crop, and then everything is right there in the middle of the image. This is the interesting part, and that's done really well. And when we're photographing, we cannot always choose the background, like in a situation like this when it's an action shot, and a kind of like a situation where the photographer does not interfere. It's probably during a game and not staged, and that's always a bit hard with the backgrounds. But yeah, like I said, really great image. And then a bit more abstract image from Dominique Depot. This is Light and Shadow. This photograph was taken in January 2023 in the railway station in Liège. The station was designed by the famous architect Calatrava. First, I took it for the color reflections and shapes and lines, but afterwards the idea occurred to me to convert it to black and white. The photograph was edited in Lightroom and Silver FX Pro. Yeah, and it does fit light and shadow. And then he said that it could also fit low key. That's true. This could be low key, but the whole point on this and what makes this image really great is the light, because you have this. First of all, you have this patterns, paths, and then the light here, and you can see how the light shapes the structure here, and you have nice light and shadow going on, and then the light fading here, and maybe this one is slightly harsh, the edge of the shadow, so but it can't really do anything about it. Could be real color too. I'm not really sure. Yeah, it might be actually a real color. That's it's not because of the light. It's because of different color. But these type of things are something that I personally like to look at different structures, different textures, different shapes, and those make really great images. And when you add light to it, you need light to form the what it, the shape of the whole thing. And as you can see here, we can see the light from here. There must be some light coming up here too, because you can see how round these are round, and we always need light to see the form of something, and that's something that you all should always look for is the light. And then something different from Raymond Hudson, which is obviously contrast. This is a seaside photo. I like the 6 alternating parallel bands of contrasting light intensity. It also helps that the silhouette figures are captured in a moment of recognizable activity. Yeah, definitely. I think the last one. Just a minute. Yes, exactly. We all know what's happening here. Someone is taking a photograph with a phone, and someone is posing. And I think that's the real deal here in the photograph. And I would like to see this image cropped a little bit, maybe cropping the top of the image, even though it is really interesting looking, but it might be a bit too distracting that it will draw our attention away from the actual thing what's happening in the image or the situation that was photographed. Not really sure if you could crop the top away. Maybe that could be better. Not really sure. It depends, of course. Of course, the photograph was intended for maybe cropping down to make it a bit more or not so busy. But otherwise, I like this type of images, and it's a good image also because we always want to have all the shades and all the transition of shades, which is of course a, sometimes a good thing. But an image like this, a set of images like this could be a stunning set of images and hang on the wall because it is something different. And when you see something different that's well made, it's always interesting. And of course, this image is all about that photographing and that modeling. And then I like the third person, probably with the hat, just waiting that let's go. Are you finished with that? I've- And then also you would wonder that why they are photographing it this way. What's with the background when they do it like this? Not sure because I would probably photograph it from this side so that the sea with all the waves would be the background. But you know that's a mystery. I don't know. Maybe that one is better. We don't know because we are not there. Um, and then let's go to the next one. And this is Michael Neruda, and this is high key. And I wanted to take a picture with high contrast. Switched my camera to monochrome and went to a shopping mall, knowing this is where I would find the high contrast. When I entered the center, I saw two gentlemen engrossed in their cell phones looking for something. I was fascinated by the same attitude. So I slowly circled around them looking for the perfect location. Above them in a gallery, I found it. When I was ready for the picture, the lady sat down in the picture. At first, I was disappointed, but she fit well into the composition and brings even more questions into the picture. I agree that the lady is a crucial part of the image. It probably would have been fine with the two gentlemen because that's well, that's what people do. They sit in a shopping mall and then looking at their phones, and they're probably doing something. And you can actually see that they are the old generation, the way they are tapping their phones with the finger. Usually, the younger generation does it with their thumbs. So it's also a good explanation of that. And then the lady is totally out of place in a good way. And as Michael said, more questions to the image. And what is she doing there? Now we know that she just happened to sit there when before the photograph was made. But it's a good addition. And this is always a thing that when we see something, and if the probably those two gentlemen were sitting there for a longer time, when you get shot, then always wait for something else to happen. You never know what's going to happen right after. So never, if you have a possibility, never leave just after the photograph. Just wait for a little while and see what's going to happen next. This time it happened quickly at the time when the photographs were made. But if it didn't, then being patient and waiting for a little while, see what's going on. We never know. Something great might happen that makes a great image. And also, what adds to this image is the reflection from the wall. Might be even be a mirror. I'm not sure. And that's also adds to image to make it kind of like a some kind of a symmetry. Which and then I was thinking about what about if this image was cropped so that the plant is cropped out and make it like a symmetry, like a two the person's and the reflection, and then take the tree out. Not sure if that could have worked, but that's something to think about. And let me see if you have any comments. Yeah, not really. Yeah, but that was well done. And then we have this from Sue Townsend. I was at the beach before sunrise to find lots of paddle boards and walkers. This couple has stopped to watch the sunrise. Although I took the photo in color, there were only a hint of sunrise, and I thought it would be suitable for the black and white. I have enjoyed experimenting with the black and white theme. Well, that's a good thing to hear because that is. Let me turn myself off so you can see the paddler up there. Yes, it's always good to practice different things and get inspired by different things. That's the main thing why I actually, you know, made these 52 assignments last year and now this year is to get you inspired and try different things. And having a theme and an assignment might be that slight boost that you take your camera and go out and make those photographs. Because yeah, to be honest, sometimes it just might be very hard to find anything. But having a theme or an assignment that there you can do them yourself, just write ideas to a piece of paper and or in your phone in some app and then just you know go out and shoot and start from that. You might end up with totally something else. Maybe I'll put myself over there. And that's why I think this assignment is a good thing because that it helps to get inspired. And what I like about this is the composition. It's a quite classical. The only thing that is a bit off, it looks like the horizon is not level, and if it is, could be because of the island goes that way. You know, there is a curve over there, so that you don't really, or you think that it is a bit or not straight, but we don't know that for sure. That it's just looks a bit odd, but it doesn't really matter. Maybe adding a slight amount of contrast would make this even better. But I like the composition where the couple is looking at the sea, and then two birds, two seagulls walking there, which are nice additions. And then there are some shades or some details in the back in the other side of the river or water or whatever. And then you have the paddles there. So there's quite a lot of things going on actually in this image, even though it's quite calm. And I think it was a nice idea to make it black and white, though it is a sunrise, and you would probably have some colors in the sky, but I think it works quite well in black and white too. And then Tim Blanc, this is Light and Shadow. It was a bitterly cold, dull winter day's cycle ride. In a search of a cafe, cycle past a derelict factory and the decorations within. Shot this ghost, that was the first thing that caught my attention. I like the framing of the window with the added detail of jagged broken glass. Yeah, I think it's a perfect. I personally like to photograph also these types of buildings. There are some interesting photogenic things on these old buildings. I don't know what brought me into these images, this type of images. It's kind of like the beauty in the broken or the decay or something. That's why. And then you start wondering that what's the decoration? Is it left there from Halloween or what is it? Just ask raises some questions, and that's always a good thing in an image. It's mysterious and an interesting detail in a building. Of course, I usually like when you go really close, but on this one, maybe show a bit more of the surroundings could have worked too. But it's totally fine like this. I think this is a good example also that always have your camera with you. And if it's a phone, then just don't worry. Grab the image with your phone if you don't have, but always have some sort of a camera with you because you never know what you see. And this was just cycling on a cold day and looking for a cafe, and then this cool image came out. And I think that's the good part when you're doing photography with an attitude that let's look around and be open, like open your eyes to what's going on and look around. Don't rush all the time. That's what we tend to do too much, and also for some reason digital cameras are making us rush too. We take lots of images and we don't look around, which is a pity. But yeah, nice done, Tim. And then we have Tom Grassi. It's my work made out of clay. The figure of a laying person set in a down going sun. Yeah, and all this image is all about light, and of course the figure, and you don't really know what it is. You start looking at this a statue somewhere. You probably see that it is quite small because of the tiles. You would imagine that the tiles are about the normal size tiles, and then that clay figure is quite small. And I think the position of the light that it comes from slightly behind makes the shape and the curves look really nice. And if we look at here, for example, the light makes so that we can see those two legs. Without the light, it would be just a blob. But now we can really see the shape over here, and that's really important. So try to have on a photograph like this, try to have the light behind the subject, not behind you, because if the light is behind you, everything will be flat. But photographing against the sun or against the light usually makes the image a lot more three-dimensional, and you will have the rim light around the subject. And that's why I think this image is a good one. And also I like the shadows here at the top and in the bottom. It kind of vignettes the image a little bit. There was one person asking me about why do we want like lenses that do not make any vignettes. It's usually if a lens makes a vignette, it's a bad lens. That's what usually people think. And yes, it is true. But I still like to make the vignettes in post. But then when I make it in post, I can control it. It's not made by the lens, it's made by me. And the reason we make those vignettes, it's our eyes are concentrated more in the subject when the edges are dark, so that our eye doesn't wander out of the image, that we stay in there. It kind of like bounces back when you have a slight dark edges, and it usually works. Let me see if there are any questions or any comments. Yeah, very nice comments. Yeah, this is exactly what. No, wrong mouse. And it is this what James says, that the direction of and quality of the light really bring a lot of drama to the little sculpture. Very cool. Yeah, exactly. It's all about the light. And then this one was, let's go to the next one. This one is Jao Aldea. It's contrast. Long garden seat in a cloudy day with the train bridge on river. Yeah. So there is a bench, cloudy day, and then you have the bridge there. And what I like about this is that it's a dull day, like he said, a cloudy day. There's still huge contrast on this image. Let me, yeah, contrast it was, and of course the composition with the most likely a pretty wide lens, you can get this kind of like sucked into the image, and then you have these trees. It's actually a bit scary image that you get sucked into those trees that might grab you or something like that, and then also the wet pavement makes nice reflections, and you have some textures, not just one gray flat thing. And yes, you can make really contrasty images in a cloudy, dull day like this, because there is some light behind here, and you can make silhouettes. And also here, the direction of the light makes this really interesting, because you have some lights here separating the trees from each other, which is of course important, because then otherwise you would just have a big black blob in the middle of the image. This is a really strong image, and first when I saw this, I was like, "What is it?" And then I realized, yeah, it must be a bench. And then afterwards, when I picked the images, I started looking into more what's going on with the images and why they were made, with the explanations. And yeah, the train thing is not that important. This could work without it, but it's just there. But yeah, this is also an image that you really need to pre-visualize it, because not all of us would go there and just put the camera down. most of us, what we do, unfortunately, is that we have the camera right here. If we're sitting, it's this height. If we're standing, it's a bit higher. But look up and put the phone, not the phone, the camera down. Most cameras nowadays have some kind of a flippy screen or a articulating screen that you can really photograph from the ground level, and you still see from the LCD what's going on, and that has kind of made these type of images so much easier. You don't want to, sit down or go down on the wet pavement. You can just hold your camera just above the the, the water level or the puddle and grab the images from that. Say, and also if you need to just go up with the camera and have that above and turn the LCD so that you can see. But that's what I like about this image. It's been kind of like a new fresh look, even though I've seen this type of images before. But something was caught my eye with this one, and it was probably the trees, because there's also a contrast with the smooth bench, and then you have these really interesting looking trees. And then we have Werner Woska. This is Light and Shadow. And what he says is that I really like to photograph in tunnels, under bridges, or in underpasses where I can find beams to lighten the scenery or parts of the scenery. In this picture, the light beam leads to the person and part of the graffiti. The shadows on the right side makes the graffiti not so dominant. The contrast makes the picture vivid and calls attention to the viewer. Yeah, exactly. And what we have here is a good example of how our, let me put myself to that side where there's black anyway, so dark, is the light. And it's a perfect time or the perfect moment to put shutter, because the person is the light. But it's still not so that it's here, because then the light would not be on his head or upper parts of the body. It would have been, well, it could have been interesting shot too, but totally different. And I think this one works really well. And what's really also interesting is that first, when you look at the light kind of bends and you start thinking what's going on, but of course it depends on it is because the tunnel is not straight. There is a corner here, slight corner here, and then that's why the light kind of bends. It looks first, if you don't realize this area, it looks kind of odd, which makes it also interesting. Not sure about the eye contact. It looks a bit worried. I don't know. Maybe it would have been slightly better if he hadn't had the eye contact. But of course, this is something that we cannot control. If they see you, then they see you, and that's it. Otherwise, it's a perfect moment when you have the foot just hitting, or the heels just hitting the ground. That's usually the best time to click the shutter, because then there is a sense of movement, and also the person's body is kind of straight. If it's a different time, there might be a bit going like this, because we all go a bit like this when we're walking without even realizing it, or most of us do. And when we're on this particular position, we are usually straight. That's why it's usually the best time to click the shutter. But also the expression on the face also raises some questions. What's going on, and what does he do? He's eating, probably has a coffee and some kind of a bun or something, eating. Well, I'm not sure yet, but it's still a bit. When also walking right to the edge of that, like he looks a bit scared. But yeah, well done. And then of course these all graffitis are something that I like. That's always interesting. Maybe there are too many tags, which is pity that they kind of like mess up some good tags. But yeah, the places like this are interesting to photograph because of the light. Usually there is light from the other side, or kind of like a directional light that it's coming from somewhere, and you have the shadows. So that usually makes these type of or these places interesting to photograph. But of course, always if you go to these places, be careful, because sometimes there might be a bit intimidating. Some people hanging around under bridges and stuff. So be careful if you go this. This is something to look for if you're looking for dramatic light. And then we have Adam Abayev, which is contrast. I took this photo of my friend sitting across the room. All of us chemistry major students were struggling to get our lab reports out, and we were all focused and in the moment. Basically, had 2 week lab in one day, so everyone was struggling to get it done and get out of the way. Once I finished mine, once I was finished with mine, my friend was almost done with his. I caught a glimpse across the room and captured the moment. I was happy how it turned out and thought it made a great composition. Yeah, it is. It is a great composition, and maybe making this more contrasty is just to add contrast, because there would be there's a contrast in the wall with the furniture, and then I like the chair here, and then contrast with the material here, and then grays. This could be slightly brighter, and he could be slightly darker, so it would be even more of a contrast. But the composition is nice. I like the the chair here and the sofa, or another chair here, and then the table, and then there's still some coffee mug, and then the laptop, and totally concentrating on that. And now that you've heard the story, you can kind of see that he might be a bit worried too, a bit worried that this is done or not. I like the way his eyes are kind of like under the cap, or the is that the cap, and you don't really see his eyes, and he's so concentrated, and that makes the uh, story about concentrating on something really more intense when you don't see the eyes, so that's not just looking to the camera, or glimpse. It doesn't even notice that he's been photographed. But yeah, and there's also, I like the slight vignetting that's done, because you have a slightly darker there. It could be the light on the ceiling too, but it's a good thing, and it's interesting that you can kind of like see that the contrast in this image, even though the light isn't very contrasty, there you can see from that the shadows are quite light, and there are no hard edges between bright light and dark light. I mean the shadows, and that what makes it also interesting. But yeah, I can see the contrast here. And then this was Steve Page, Light and Shadow, on the way home after a night out. And when I saw this image, without knowing, I kind of knew that it was from Edinburgh. Then I saw the text on the image that Edinburgh through a lens. And yeah, Edinburgh has these narrow streets that are of course not a place that I would go in the middle of the night. But I think that this you can clearly see the rain, and what I like about this light here, that you have some light and shadow, so that there is light and shadow going on the side. This would have been even better if there was someone here, some kind of like a silhouette of someone. And always this part. I think it's either heavy rain, or then the shutter speed. I don't know if you said about the shutter speed. No, there's no info about the shutter speed, because you can see the rain a lot better would have a slightly longer shutter speed, but not too long. If it's too long, then it just kind of disappears. And usually this type of rain, you can see when there is light, and then something dark in the background, but you can see it also here. But like here, you don't see the rain at all. But around the light, you see that it is really looks like, at least. And yeah, it's a wet ground, so it looks like it's raining. And yeah, these type of places are really interesting to photograph. And in Edinburgh, for example, there are endless amount of this type of scenery. So that's a good place to photograph these. And another thing, always have your camera with you. This was a night out, and I'm not sure, it could have been a phone that this image was made. And then it's during Yeah, I'm just looking at the comments. And then we have from Ola Joval this image. It's light and shadow. I went to a skateboard park in Malmö, Sweden, a rather sunny day to photograph light and shadows. I placed myself so that I had rather nice pattern of shadows of the different slopes in the viewfinder and waited for a kid to enter into the image, then capturing the moment. Yeah, this is a good example of waiting for something to happen. You have the composition, and then you just wait for something to happen, someone to enter there. And this is about waiting. And what I like about this is the kind of a harsh environment that you don't really know what it is. It's kind of like, what is it? Even though okay, Ola said that it is a skate park, so we know that. But without knowing, it would be really interesting and see why on earth is the kid doing there. But yes, it is a kid practicing skateboarding. And also, what I like about this the uh, helmet that is kind of giving some kind of a different type. It's kind of like doesn't belong there because of the all the. You can even see, most likely see even the colors, even though it's a black and white image. You can kind of see that it's colors. These are probably grayscale, and of course the direction of the light is great. It makes all the shapes and different shades of gray and black. And what I like about this image is that I know because or I know that Ola is doing a lot more photographs in the nature because he was last summer in our workshop and he hadn't really done any this type of images before that, and that was great to see this image because he's trying something different, not only doing some things. But the thing is that taking the knowledge from, let's say, that from nature photography to this type of urban environment, you still have the same things. This could be a landscape photograph. This could be mountains, for example, or this could be trees or whatever. And still you have the same things apply, which are, is the composition, and then something happens and you have a great. So I think this is a good example of that. The only small thing that I would do is probably vignette from here, make this slightly darker. Now that our eyes kind of go out, but not sure. I'll probably test it first and see. It could be totally fine like this, but that's something to play around with. It's always a good thing to when you're editing images just to play around with and test different things and see how it looks, and then decide. So make a few different uh, variations of the same image, and then just look how it comes out and see if that's better. But yeah, very nice image. Well done, Ola. And then something a bit different. This is Janne Lehto, and this was for light and shadow that you probably can figure out. And what Janne says about the image. I took some pictures from Vaskivori High School's band marathon. This is the drummer of the Bubble Boys. All right. Cool name of a band, Bubble Boys. So it's a high school band. And yeah, a good moment to get the image. And I especially like the composition because you have some hands in the front. Of course, if there is some hands in the air, that could also be a good thing. Look at the moment. Look at the concentration on the drummer. Maybe seeing this arm hitting. Sorry, don't know what it is, but this plate, anyways, to hit that could be a maybe a more dynamic image. But all these lights here and the microphones and everything, this and still you have the concentration over here, and then you start seeing all the other things. And that's why this is a well done composition and a moment. And I also like this beam of light that comes from the behind. And of course, usually when you are photographing bands, there is some smoke that's been, smoke machine and all that. So it's a good place to photograph. It's somehow also sometimes a bit easy too because everybody else has put the lights and they put out the show. It's just to record it, but still you need to be really aware and get the right moment to photograph. And then we have Michelle Howard. I caught this image after spending the morning taking pictures at a rose garden. After focusing on the color and grandeur of the roses, this struck me as a very simple. And this is light and shadow. And yeah, it is. It's an interesting image. And especially if you've been photographing something else and all of a sudden you see this. And shadows on a wall, for example, are really or makes usually great images. And then I think it's having the some kind of rail or whatever that is up there. So you would think that someone could walk there is an interesting thing. Maybe there are stairs because this goes like this. That makes some more without this being here. It would be maybe too boring. Now you have a kind of a city to a place that we have an idea. We can kind of build their surroundings in our imagination. And what I especially like is that this is on this because everything in this goes this way and everything on the bricks goes this way and then you have the bricks that go the other way and then you have the thing over there and this is could be pure luck or it could be something that the time of day or maybe Michelle was moving so that the height was perfect. We don't know that, but it's a good anyways. Nice and simple image and you would not think that it would make an image, but it does. So look around. Well done, Michelle. That was, yeah, I didn't mention that was light and shadow. And then we have Gary Stonewall. I was in southern Colorado for the sandhill crane migration and noticed these Canadian geese while I was watching the early morning sun warming the ground and sending up the water vapor. I took 3 shots while one of the geese was stretching. Yeah, this the stretching or the silhouette makes the image because that's they both like that would have been pretty boring. But now this is the thing that makes the image, and I kind of like the way that it is so wide, so it like kind of like shows the whole surroundings and especially the clouds. And then first when I looked at, I wondered what it is, but that's a mountain probably, most likely it is. And then you have the clouds here. Maybe it's slightly too much of this. I would probably crop slightly that off. It doesn't give you any more information, but this one definitely is interesting. And then of course the vapor from the river, or was it a river? Yeah, well, water anyways. And then these and that position is just perfect. So this is really really well done image. But I would crop the top slightly. And then we have a Greg Stampley, Light and Shadow, the remains of Hamelin Bay jetty, Hamelin Bay, Western Australia. And it was with the whole, what do you call it, a lens. And using wide angle lenses, it's really important to have something in the front. Usually, if there's nothing in the front when you're taking a wide angle shot, it's just pretty boring. Now, it kind of takes us into the image, and then we can see the other things, and then we see the boat. So it kind of sucks us into the image, and then of course the light is again good direction of the light so that we can see the roundness of this. It's a bit harsh light because you got really sharp edges there. So there's probably clear sky on the behind, and then you can see the clouds, which are really kind of a good texture, good shaped clouds, and you have really hard shapes here, and then you have a bit softer clouds, and I think there's a nice contrast there too. And then the quite long exposure. It looks like the exposure's been. It doesn't say the exposure, no. But anyways, it's a slightly longer exposure because you can't see really the or the water is a bit soft and smooth, which looks nice. it makes it a bit mysterious, and that's probably why the clouds too are a bit softer looking than usual. There might be some movement during the exposure. But it is well done image, and an interesting composition too. And let's see, is there a huge wave somewhere? Could be. And then let me see. Yeah, here it's James Boyer, high key expectations. I sat down over coffee with my colleague at work earlier this month. And this high key portrait of our database developer Felix. Later that week, he became a proud father. Congratulations to him and his growing family. Yeah, that's a good one. This was just challenging assignment for me because shooting high key isn't my usual style and it's pretty far outside of my comfort zone. Also, in the moment when this image came together over coffee, my real camera was back at my desk. I made this image using portrait mode on my iPhone and minor edits in Apple's Photos app to black point, contrast, and cropping. Yeah, I think this is a good example of a good high key portrait, and I like the moment. It's a bit mysterious and without knowing that he became a father, and it was probably a joyful moment. This is a bit sad image in a way. So glad we know that it's not, because that's the way it looks down is a bit like probably concentrating on the coffee or looking down what's in the coffee mug. But still, the what I like about this is the high key here and the brightness, and then also the details here and the portrait mode. Does it say that? Yeah, in the let me just yeah, portrait mode in the iPhone that kind of like makes an artificial blurry background. But on this one, it kind of looks nice that it makes blur over here. This slightly overexposed here. It could be slightly too much, but we don't know how bright this was. And here, for example, the exposure is perfect, and then the slightly unsharp shirt kind of like draws our eye to the face. And this is a remarkable portrait, and just a simple portrait on a simple moment, and you catching the moment and everything. It's just beautiful, just beautiful. And then we have Hans Desert contrast, crawling through a ditch in a freezing wind to capture a dirty horse against a cloudy sunset. That is what Peter drives us to. Yes, you're absolutely right. I photographed this animal many times before, as it is on my regular walk and my wife feeds them grass. I was pleasantly surprised with the outcome of this one, and its DxO and silver FX help to recover detail. Yeah, yes, the details on this horse is remarkable. You can really see the texture. You can see really see the fur and how it's all this, and it looks a bit harsh, or it's not. It doesn't look that it is very soft. And going down, you can really make the background less busy, because if this was photographed from way up, this would be in the background behind here, and that would make the image busy. Now you have a really nice, quite calm and a bit dramatic sky at the same time. So this works perfectly, and also the texture kind of makes the image 3D. When adding texture in post, kind of separates even more the subject, or the horse, and this time the horse, from the background. So really well made. And of course, the pose is not like the way the leg is very fine, very chic. The way the leg is there, kind of like looks like it's really posing. Maybe it is posing if you know this horse. Maybe the horse knows that you're a photographer and you're making images, and wants to look at its best. But I think it's a beautiful image. And let me see. Yeah, we've been here for an hour now. And then Martin Ashley, it's a high key image. I like the exquisite nature of the seagull. High key drew direct attention to the bird to the exclusion of anything else. It was captured at the port of Wellaroo, South Australia. Yeah, this could be first when I saw this that it could be snow, but it's probably not. And yes, it is. This could be kind of like a negative space image or simple is beautiful or whatever. This could be, but I like the eye contact and so that it's quite straight, but still the head is slightly tilted to the side. That's a good thing. It makes it more dynamic, and then also that it's not straight. It's just slightly curved, and it's interested in what are you doing, and then you can't see. I'm not sure if the live stream it's way too bright. It's not that you can really see the edge here, so that is looks a bit too bright over there. But on my screen here, it is totally fine. You have all the details. You can even see the furs here, and unfortunately, it is slightly too bright on the live stream. But yeah, and the composition is perfect. You have the one or the rule of third here, which leaves us empty space here, and then there is some different texture on this one. It looks like it's some shiny material because there's a reflection here, and then you have almost like overexposed background, which makes the live screen. I'm not sure the high key, I mean. And then there's some details here which you probably can't see on the stream, unfortunately. Yeah, well-made image. And then we take the next one, Dirk Schunemann. This shot was while on a photo walk in Orlando, Florida. I like how the light rays seem to be coming from the "Do Not Enter" sign, and they are not. The light is hidden behind the sign. Yeah, that was the thing that caught my eye. I was wondering why on earth is there that type of light? But it's the perspective is a bit kind of like squeezed, so that this probably looks to be a lot closer in the image than it actually is. And then yes, we can probably see that behind this edge and the wall there is a bit more distance here, and this is why it is such an interesting looking image because it's squeezed in, so it's most likely made with a bit shorter lens. And also the light here leads us to see "Do Not Enter," and I like the way that it is made from the side, and it's probably something again that you need to pre-visualize. You see the light streaks on the wall, and then you get the idea that hey, why not taking from this side and then look like the light is coming from the "Do Not Enter" sign. I like this type of thinking that you kind of see this because normally we would go walk on a place like this. It looks like it's kind of like nothing. You have a door and you have a "Do Enter" sign, but then if you start really looking around and thinking about it and seeing different perspectives from different angles from the shot, and I think this is a good example of that. That there is an image everywhere you go, and I once made a video about a method where you kind of wait a minute, how to explain? You have different uh, pieces of paper where you write 2 minutes or different directions, and then you let's say that I walk 4 minutes north and take 4 images in that spot after I've been walking for 2 minutes, for example. And that's a good practice because then you end up in places like this where you've never been and wouldn't even consider taking photographs. But if you have to take 4 images like this, and then you get different images, which is interesting practice. I hope I was clear. I maybe said it a bit wrong, but there is. I'll put a link to that video in the description if you're interested. And let's see. This one is Sean Buckley, Light and Shadow. This was just a quick grab shot, and it's not quite in focus. Not, I think it is. Maybe it could be sharper. Not sure. But I just like the way it looked and like the spotlight on the busker. I tried a vertical crop to better isolate the substrate, but I think it was something without the guitar case. Yeah, I think the guitar case is an important part, and you're probably right that without it, it would be quite empty. And now we also see the street, and it's a good time to have a break because you don't. Let me put me on the back of the background. It's a good time to have a break because there's not too many listening, so it's a perfect time. It's pretty quiet there. Looks like Helsinki. It's like that. It's usually quite quiet. And of course, then you see the graffitis on the wall or murals on the wall there, which is interesting. And then of course also the placement of this shadow is just perfect. Of course, you probably want to sit in the sun, but I like the way that it is kind of framing the guy. And especially you said it right. I think this is important to have there. It gives kind of like a pathway inside the image, and you start going there, and then you're coming back and realize that, yes, it's a good time to have a break. Another good thing on this could have been if someone was standing here, but it's you can't really control that. And an image like this, I think you could stage these type of images. But I think it works very well with the composition. And what I would like to see is a color photograph of this sometime. How does it look? Because it looks really interesting mural. Let's see the next one. It's Chris and Lodhia, Light and Shadow. I shot this photo during our trip to New York City last week. I challenged myself to do black and white during my time there, and I was very pleased with some of the results. But there was something about this image that really catches me. Maybe it's the checked umbrella in the sea of umbrellas against Empire State Building in the background. It stands out to me. Exactly, that is exactly the point. And I think what's even more interesting is look at this. Look at the stripes on the building. Look at the stripes here. It's a stunning image. It's such a cool catch with this. And I don't think the Empire State Building is interesting, but this here, because look at that. I think that's just marvelous. And yeah, these type of images are interesting. And this is again, you have a bad weather, but still photographing. I think it's the best way to photograph. And yes, perfect place to photograph black and white. I think New York. Yes, it's I don't know. I've been there a few times, and I many times think that this could be some place to go and just do black and white. I haven't done that yet in that sense to take a trip there. But yeah, if you just kind of go out and look for these type of images, there are endless of possibilities with this type of images with umbrellas and other stuff during the rain, maybe raincoats and all that, and people under bus stops and under covers and all that. That's just marvelous. Let's see what else. Yeah, 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 but really, really well done. And then we have Tina Bergström, which is a hikey image. These are Blossom, which I took with the Lens Baby Velvet 56. I had a piece of perspex in which I shone lights to get the effect. Yeah, there is definitely a hikey image. And the Lens Baby Velvet, I know Tina's been using that lens for many years, if I remember correctly, and knows how it works. And it gives a really nice, dreamy effect. And it's one of the fun lenses. I do have some older lens babies, but I haven't been using them for years. But this one is something that I've sometimes considered getting, but haven't gotten yet. And yeah, the composition is nice, the feeling and everything works with this, and it looks a bit different. And set of these from different flowers or different plants and then have like a trip to or set of images with gorgeous. I think this, yeah, it is very well done. Yeah, and let's see. And this is Mika's Storm. This was shot last Saturday evening in Lepakkomies at the Dead Talks gig. Good times. Yeah, this type of music is, and these type of guys in the music scene here in Finland is quite common. I'm not sure if this, to be honest, I don't know this band Dead Dogs if it's Finnish or not. It doesn't matter. Great image again, and you can really see the. Not sure some part of this black head might be something something like this, but I think it is light, and you can really see some light, and then that kind of the shadows here kind of draws our eyes towards here, and then you have the backlight and all that and shiny jacket, and you can really see that it is a kind of a small club in not too much light, and most likely the walls are not really well kept. There might be some different types of graffiti on the walls and everything. It's a perfect moment. Maybe I would have preferred slightly more light on this side, but I think it goes. Yeah, I don't know, maybe something there, but it's of course, again, when you're in a place, you can't really control the backgrounds. It's about positioning yourself and seeing if you can get the moment with that perfect background. But here again, the bright lights come from here, and you can see the edges of light over here, and that's really something that we have to remember is to try to separate the subject from the background, and light is one important part in that. And also the beard, you can see that the light comes through the beard. Really good moment. And we have still a few more. And then we have Stephen Jude, high key. I was taking photos of seagulls at the water's edge. I combined a high key monochrome image with a slight intentional camera movement. The resulting simplicity of the shot appeals to my love of minimalism. Yeah, this is a minimalistic image, and a good example of an image that it doesn't have to be pin sharp to be interesting and good image. And also, I like the kind of like the framing of this, that you have the light black frame. Kind of, it is kind of a thing that it prevents our eyes to wander out of the image, even though it's not part of the photograph in a way. But when you're presenting a photograph, it becomes part of the photograph and part of the story in a way. And the placement of the birds perfect. You have the waves, wave, and then you have something. This could be something that I would, or at least think about cloning out because of the composition. These two here, I think, is the perfect. And this again is slightly too bright. You can't really see see the whole image. Unfortunately, it's way too bright. I need to figure out and think, maybe do some test live stream sometimes and lower the. Let me see if I do this. Is this helping anything? If I just make that image darker and on my screen, let me see if that is the case. Oh, it doesn't really change at all. There's something in the system. I need to look into that. And then we have David Mansky. I was doing a photo walk with my uh, that's must be Fire Mark 3 in Tel Aviv, and saw this mirror store exhibiting framed mirrors outside. The reflections, light, and shapes just wowed me and it begged me for a photo. Yes, we had a really calm, minimalistic image. And now maybe I'll turn myself off so we can see the whole image. And now we have this, which is really busy. And I think in this thing, the busy image is a good thing, because we see uh, the cars. There's the same cars many times there. And what I like about this is that they're all quite bright colors. We don't know if they're white. That one might be something else than white, but there's a kind of a feeling that they're all white. And then I especially like this one here. It's like there's someone there with, but there isn't. I think that is kind of like a small detail that makes this image really great. And of course, the bright hat. To make different colors in black and white to look different is just to add the opposite color or lower the or make red brighter, then it becomes white and all that. And that's also filters can do that. But I think this is such a big mess, this image, that it makes it really interesting. And I like that because you don't really know what it is. You just start looking at what's going on, and then you kind of like don't have anything in there until you see this. I think this is such an important part to calm our eye so that our eye can rest there and then go back to everything and then just come back to that. I think that is an really important part in the whole image. Without that, it would be probably too busy and not that interesting. And then we have Teresa Furmeister. I was hoping that we could get some snow so that I could photograph this old abandoned farmhouse for the black and white assignment. The house itself is interesting in its stages or of despair, windows missing, vines claiming their passage, and the wind damages old trees, tell the story of time gone by. Yeah, these kind of places are interesting to photograph, very photogenic places to photograph. And this, well, I don't know why I don't have the assignment here. I think it is high key. I would suspect this is high key, or if you added a little bit of contrast to the image, I think it would be more interesting. It's a slightly too bright. Make these trees and the house slightly more contrasting. Then I think it would be slightly better. But it's an interesting place, and I like the composition. It's pretty classical composition, but it works. And especially I think this tree here is quite important so that we won't wander out of the image. I think that really works well. Let me put myself on that side. And yeah, just a slight increase in contrast would make it even better. And then we have one image, very classical image. This is from Paul Anderson, Light and Shadow, a fisherman on Inlay Lake, Myanmar. He was searching for a fish as dawn broke. I was in another boat heading across the lake. Yeah, this is of course this type of image looks very exotic to me because we don't have that style of. It would totally look totally different if I was taking an image of someone who's fishing. But that's not the reason I took this. I think this is a stunning image, and the slight sepia tone on this image makes it very classical, and it's kind of like a timeless image. This could be really old image or really new image. It doesn't say if it was taken right now or is this an old image. I hope it's made for this assignment. But all in all, I think there's not much to improve in this type of image if you really want to make this type. I think it's just perfect for this, and all the the really bright areas here, and then you have kind of like a smog, and it's like looks like a morning sun, and you look at the direction of the sun. It's probably coming from quite low. I'm not sure, but that's what it looks like. That it is not very high up. There is some kind of a soft in the light. It could be the editing, or maybe there was a filter or something. But yeah, it looks stunning image. And that was the last image, and I think we ended this live stream, or which not end yet, but we will slowly start ending this. And I think it was a real cool set of images on this, and I will remind you of the next assignment, which is color. So we're going to the other extreme. And what I want to see are images, saturation, low or high saturation, joy of colors, and complementary colors and color of life. And like I said, I have made a video about this theme. I published it on Friday. So there is more information about what's going on here and what I was thinking about when I made this assignment, so that it's not because I want you to photograph a certain way. What I want is to photograph or give you some inspiration so that you have some kind of an idea where to start from. But I always appreciate that you probably have been following my live streams a long time, knows that of course I have a certain taste of images and like certain type of images, but I hope that you won't, start to make images so that we, so that the motivation is that is Peter going to like this or not. That's not the right way. I think you should do the images the way you like them, and if it is a good image, most likely I would like it. But if you start to think what is Peter going to say about this image, you will go wrong. That won't help you. So try to uh, I know it's a hard way to say, but try to make your own images like you have so far. I haven't really seen images that tries to please me because it doesn't work that way. So that's why I make the kind of like the inspirational videos about, or I hope they're inspiring you to find the right subject or a right way to photograph it. And I will have another live stream. And there was someone asking that or messaging me that the form to send the images was accepting the images, but that was before I opened it. Always close it after because I don't want anyone sending their images there unless they are for these monthly themes. And I usually open it up before maybe a week before the live stream, and I try to have these live streams every first Sunday of the month. So first Sunday in May. But follow my channel so that you know when it's going. But I don't know. Have any one of you started shooting for the color assignment? It's only 2nd of April, but starting early, you have more options and more possibilities to photograph for that. Let me see, what would you have? Yeah, I agree that very interesting images, and I think it was a bit different, and I think that was what I liked about these images, that they were slightly different, and I think, like I've said many times, and I think this whole thing is good for inspiration and testing different things and failing, maybe you know trying different types of photography is I think is good for you and good for all of us who photograph, is to try different things, and sometimes we fail, like something, then just move on and do what we enjoy most. And what I mean by enjoying most is photograph the things that we enjoy the most. But sometimes it's good to look what's behind the corner and try to do some different things. Go from the city to the woods and vice versa. Come out from the nature and do some photography in the cities, or do some portraits if you're doing animals, and then try some portraits and all that. That will make your photography more interesting, and you will learn new things. And let me just put the but once again, thank you so much for sending the images. It's a big pleasure for me to look at those images. And yeah, this is a sample from my video about complementary colors, which is on this one it's kind of like orange and teal, which is a very common way of grading the movies in the movie world. But yeah, thank you so much, and thanks for watching, and bye for now.